Evening, everybody. Welcome along to the match reaction to Rangers versus Kilmarnock. The final score was Kilmarnock 2, Rangers 3. I'm quite sure, the same as everybody else, that we've lost a few maybe months or years in our lives and grew a few grey hairs after that. But we got the 3 points and we're up the road. But apart from that, not really. Well, we'll get into the meat of the bones anyway. Tonight I'm joined by Stuart, Scott, and Craig. How you doing, boys?
Fine.
Yeah, good, Brian.
Yeah, guys. Yeah, I kind of know that. Yeah. It wasn't very good, no. So anyway, Scott, the team lineup. Obviously, I haven't seen or heard the build up yet, but what did you think of the original lineup when it came out?
Thought it was okay, Brian. It's a guy who's going to go away. There's some that will only play because of injury, some will not play because of the pitch. And listen, he's got a squad of players that he's just having to use and rotate because there's not a lot else here. We all know we need replacements, so until that happens, he's going to just have to use the guys we've got.
Yeah, Craig. I mean, he's kind of just sort of, I wouldn't say going through the motions, but you know, you can only pick what you've got, and I'm afraid that's pretty much what he's doing just now, isn't it?
Yeah, we spoke before the game about there's a couple of changes, and they were probably the changes you would expect. It was just a case of which player would come in for which player going out. We're desperately in need of new players. I think that's been a case for a little while, and it's just hopefully the next few days that gets sorted one way or the other.
Absolutely. And was there much of a debate for you, Stuart, in the goalie department? I mean, you know, McGregor started on the semi. McLaughlin started tonight. I mean, did you feel there was a need for a change, or did you feel it needed freshen up?
Well, again, we talked in the pre-match about potential reasons as to why he's making the change, and you know, nobody knows why, because he's not given much away. The only thing that we could come up with was potentially that Kelly are good from set pieces, a lot of big boys in there, and is McLaughlin better at coming out and maybe taking the pressure? And well, after 5 minutes, that was kind of straight out the window, wasn't it? So, yeah, I don't know if it's going to change much on that. I think he'll continue to do it. Him and Gerrard like to do it, you know. But does McCrory deserve a chance now? Potentially.
Yeah, there's certainly a debate for that. And as you said, it didn't take very long. I think it took 6 minutes, Kerr, before the Rangers goal was breached, and it was fairly straightforward. Cross, and nobody took responsibility. And the big, I don't even know what position he played, but the big lad just rose up and buried the header. I mean, it was fairly straightforward, wasn't it? But it's a scenario we've seen before, isn't it, with set pieces and us defending.
Yeah, it's not like something we're shocked about.
No.
Yeah, it happens. It's going to happen again this season before the season's over with, so we may as well expect it every game because that's the way we defend. It's not so much two centre backs are always going. We need a standing position, so they're going to find it more difficult to jump because your forwards and opposition defenders are facing you. So plus, Kilmarnock got a few big boys, but McLaughlin's positioning was poor. Why was he standing in the back of the field with the team? Basically, he was never going to get through that traffic to punch it. And then when the boy gets ahead, he just kind of does like a star jump effect to try and kid on, try to get it. It's like he has to be aware of where players are. He just can't stand and expect it. He has to be pushing players out of the way as well. You see goals doing that all the time, but he's standing at the back thinking, I'll just stand here, not come to me, and it's never going to happen. So, but the whole team have to be aware. We have to defend. We have to practice set pieces. The problem, we've got two centre backs who are very good football players, but there's a perfect corner at times. There's not really anybody who's a dominant header of the ball. And maybe Bill's got to look at that because we need somebody who's maybe not as clever a football player, but somebody who's got a bit of physicality about him and you can just get the ball away, especially in there, because we like that. We like that in this team. This team's one of the biggest team anyway, but we like that.
Yeah, I mean, certainly from even my school days, Craig, I remember, you know, your PE teacher, whoever took the football team, you know, they always preach to the goalie, if you come for it, you've got to at least commit and go for it. Don't half-heartedly come for it. At least make an effort. If you've to clear 2 or 3 bodies out of your way to get to the ball, then so be it. But at least commit to it. As Scott said there, he didn't do either. He just he said Star jumped and did nothing, didn't he?
Yeah, and it wasn't even the first one. There was one before that. So
yeah.
we had the warning signs a couple of minutes before. The key thing for a goalkeeper is if he comes flying out and clatters into 3 or 4 players and punches the ball and goes down, he's probably going to get a free kick for it. He's got that protection, probably going to get a free kick. He's not going to get hit with a penalty. It's very unlikely he's going to give something away coming out for the ball. After that, I don't really remember him having an issue with any free kicks or crosses coming in, but it was very, very bad for the first few minutes. And Stuart said before we came on, it's not like anyone could have predicted they would come flying out the first 5-10 minutes at us. Apart from every person that's ever watched a game of football. You're on mute.
Absolutely, yeah. Is this a bit? This is a bit of a common theme as well, isn't it? Taking 30 minutes to find our feet, Stuart. It's. I think somebody said in the chat earlier, it's the 21st game that we've conceded the first goal. You can only get away with that so many times. And as Craig said, we had a warning sign before the first goal, and we didn't take any heed.
Yeah, and we talked about it pre-match. That the way we start games is not good enough. And as much as it's a nice habit to have to be able to come back from conceding the first goal, then it won't continue. We will eventually get found out with that. But yeah, as Craig mentioned here, you're not telling me that Beale and even Gio and previously are not, just at the last minute they're going out that changing room saying to them, they are going to come flying out the blocks. We need to be up for it. And what we noticed was we were off the pace. We were second to every ball. Our passing, Morelos played another one of his famous crossfield passes at one point, which again nearly gave me a heart attack. But this is a player issue now, because I don't believe that's a management issue in terms of how we're starting games. And rather than us dominating the ball and getting up the park and into the Killie half, we were defending and we were giving away long throw-ins and corners and free kicks, and we ultimately paid the price.
It's really worrying, Kerr, isn't it? I think somebody said it took us 30 odd minutes to get going. Against other teams, that could be 2-3-0. The way we defend, and the way Kilmarnock attacked us. We scored in the 23rd minute, but even then, you still didn't see us scoring, did you?
I actually did, Brian. I thought we were still going to win, aye, because that's the way Rangers are doing things now. You remember, this is the same guys that were under Gio all season.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen all this before.
Leopard doesn't change its spots, does it?
Michael Beale's actually come in and done a remarkable job, considering how many times we went behind, but we've come back and won. So the mentality of the players has changed, and the performances have changed to a point. It's just he's not getting a full match out of them, which very rarely you doubt a team. But like I said earlier, Rangers, we cause our own problems more than other teams do. We make other teams look good, but a lot of the chances they get, it's lack of concentration, lack of awareness, just being lazy at times. Because you notice when we step up the passing and the urgency, we look a good side, but then when we slow it back down again and we kind of just play it about very slow, and that's when teams come on to us again and we end up getting bullied. Kilmarnock bullied in the first 15 minutes until the players realise we're in a game here. But it wasn't because Kilmarnock are a better side, it's just because the players were slow to start until they realised they have to get the same attitude as other players. They've got better ability, technically better, but sometimes the attitude doesn't switch on quick enough for the Rangers players, and that's the difference. But the mentality has improved, and I know we keep going behind, but we're winning. It'd be different if we won the one. So you can see a difference Bill made, but we all know he needs replacements. This squad needs a big overhaul. but I don't think we'll get it. But we do need replacements, and that's the issue.
Yeah, I mean, Craig, we'll come on to the second goal. A slightly unusual sort of combination with Sakala supplying an assist for Morelos. Nice cross from Sakala and a cool finish from Morelos, because could have easily pulled it or scuffed it or whatever, but he was there in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, it was probably the first time that we really got the ball down and actually put a few passes together. I agree with what Kerr was saying. It's the old adage, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. It's not like the Kilmarnock players are better and better footballers. It's just they were up for it. They wanted to put a stamp on the game. Sakala, what more can you say? He's 1 second he'll run the ball out and run into someone, and the next minute he puts a ball on a plate for Morelos. I went down the Scotty route of slagging Morelos off about 20 seconds before he put the ball in the net. So
I couldn't believe the timing.
No, I hadn't caught up on the. I hadn't seen the goal. I was like, I thought I'm gonna get absolutely roasted here because I've just slagged. I think the bit I saw was where he went to kick the ball and he kicked it straight out, and I was like, just get him off. And the next thing I know, he's getting the goal. But just simple football, just simple football. Not overplaying it. Just a ball out wide, ball through the defender. Sakala's got the pace, ball across the box. I was half expecting though Alfie to scuff it wide because he does have a tendency to do that, and I was very happy when he put it in the corner. Yeah,
I suppose at that point, Stuart, you're thinking, well, that's a goal back. This is where in the past under Beale, we've kind of put the foot down and went on and sort of comfortably won the game. But I mean, this was never going to be anything like that, and we went in at half time 1-1. So the first half sort of we had a lot of possession, but there was still that dodginess to us at the back, wasn't there?
Actually, I thought there was a change in terms of we got a goal, the equaliser, relatively quickly after Kilmarnock scored, whereas normally we'd go in 1-0 at half time. So that was positive. Yeah, I mean, I think we dominated after that without doing a great deal, but we were certainly in control and pushing them back. And I was kind of sitting there waiting for the famous Beale halftime talk, that was going to come and see the difference. And I think we've seen that. So positives in that, we got ourselves back into it relatively quickly. Could we have pushed on and created more? Then but I think we know we've got deficiencies in that area.
Absolutely. So the second half starts, Kerr, and it came out of nothing, the sort of second goal. Basically a punt up the park from Tavernier, and Kent's onto it, and then wasn't probably the best cross. It goes over the other side to Morelos, and Morelos then puts it back into the mixer in the box. And actually, Kent had plenty of time just to control it, look up, and put it right in the bottom corner.
It was a great finish, but Ryan Kent wasn't. He put it the opposite side of the goal. He thought he was going with it. It was a finish that Ryan Kent should be doing more often, but he said that himself, and we all know the quality he has. And the game was wide open at times. That was a difference. They were trying to come forward, but at the back they're not great. They're good near command, but on the ground they're not great. And we should have probably scored more. But listen, we've won tonight with guys who hopefully or possibly half that team want to be there next season anyway. And it's just one of the games, Brian. I mean, Kilmarnock on a great side, but they do well at home because they're on the Plastic Park, and they've got a good record at Rugby Park, to be fair to them. So it was never going to be easy. But like I said earlier, we make it hard for ourselves. At 3-1, the game's done. But then obviously we can see the game because it's just bad defensive play, as usual, by the Rangers' defence, especially for Burner. So, no, but Ryan Kent took the goal well. He actually nearly made a boob at the start before he got the ball back, because maybe he should have done it earlier, but he took it well. And listen, it's a away victory coming off a game at extra time on Sunday. Do you know what I mean? So I'm happy with it. I'm not going to be too critical of the side because like I said earlier, we know some of these players are not going to be here next season. So, and it's the same players who were criticising at the start, but it has been a big difference in mentality change with them, and that's why we're coming from behind. Whereas before with these games, when I came back, a lot of these games been one down. Do you know what I mean? So we can see it, but I do agree with you earlier. There's going to be a point that won't happen, so they're going to have to get their finger out. But as long as the mentality's there and we keep trying with some of the guys like Sakala and stuff like that, we'll be okay because the talent's here, but the attitude just needs to change with some of them.
Yeah, and Craig, there was probably two candidates I thought that would get a red card before the guy that eventually did. I certainly thought Alan Power, after I don't know how many minutes he got booked, it was very early for him. And then as soon as Morelos got booked, I thought, well, there's another candidate right ready to get red carded. And then Alan Armstrong inexplicably decides to just elbow Borna Barisic in the face, in the middle of nowhere, basically, and somehow tried to sort of proclaim his innocence. And it was just clear, right? I mean, it was probably a straight red more than a second yellow, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was the one I thought first half. He was
a menace.
He pulled. I mean, he was a menace for the first half. He had us ragging a few times, but he was pulling shirts and he got booked for one. So he was actually quite lucky that he actually got to the point where he could elbow Barisic and get sent off, because he could have had 2 yellows before that. I agree with Morelos. Morelos looked like he was either going to have a really good game or get sent off in the first 25 minutes. He seemed a man possessed at times, although I'm not sure his yellow card would have been a yellow card for anyone not named Alfredo Morelos. It was a bit of a sort of reputation yellow card for me. Yeah, I mean, it was, if he had got a straight red card, I don't think he'd have had any complaints. It was a full forearm smash straight to the face. I'm surprised actually Borna got back up, and I did see that he went over to the bench. I don't know whether he was going over to speak to the player or speak to McInnes, but whatever it was he said, it seemed to get a little chuckle out of the manager. But yeah, it was a stupid tackle, stupid challenge. Similar to the one at the weekend, only that player knows what was going through his mind at that moment. You're on mute.
Sorry, I have these inexplicably coughs because I'm still coming off the chest infection, so I mute myself every so often. But thanks to Big Dave for the £10 super chat. He's got 4 points here. 1, welcome back El Buffalo. Obviously with his 2 goals. 2, our set piece defending is beyond shite. Well, that's, yep. 3, Tav and Borna are not there for their defensive skills. They're there to go forward. And 4, youth clearly not trusted unless injury forces it. Now, it's... See, when you see it written down like that, Stuart, it's kind of hard to disagree with that, isn't it?
I actually seen a tweet earlier which said, does MD know what Tom Culshaw's up to at the moment, to maybe get him back? I know we're supposedly we've brought somebody in to look at our set-piece defending, but it certainly wasn't there tonight. Yeah, I mean, hopefully Morelos kicks on from this. That's all we can hope for. We need him to, because we don't know when Cholak and Roof are going to be back. So, we need him going on a run now, which he's scored, and then he's maybe went 3 or 4 games without. So hopefully this puts him on. Youth, yeah, we talked on the pre-match, is Arfield. We know what Arfield gives us. I didn't think he had a great game. Again, I thought he came on a wee bit towards the end, but I didn't think he had a great game. Could Lowry have started? I don't know. That's potentially, when do we give him a chance? If McCann can come on in a League Cup semi-final, can he play against Kilmarnock? And we actually talked about that these youngsters are used to that pitch. They're used to it. So, yeah, I think they're valid points, to be honest. But yeah, I think the big thing for me is hopefully Morelos goes on a wee run now. Yeah,
I mean, we spoke about it this morning, Scott. AstroTurf pitch. The youth players are certainly used to playing on AstroTurf. There was a certain debate that you could have had where, not obviously all of them, but you could have certainly given one or two a start tonight because they were used to it. You know, Lowry, Devine, you know, you're just thinking out the box clearly, because obviously we knew Jack wasn't going to play tonight with the Astros, so it's difficult to see whether. I mean, he obviously, I think he says he likes the youth players, but he just doesn't seem willing to put them in. You know, even give them 15, 20 minutes here or there. Does he? You're on mute.
Saying it constantly but no giving the boys a chance is contradicting yourself, really, isn't
Yeah.
it? My opinion, I'm not going to say, I'll never say it's over, but it kind of is the league, do you know what I mean? So why not give Devine minutes at left back, because he was doing well when he was in there, and drop Borna, because Borna's a bomb scare the most of the time. Why not give Lowry a chance in midway apart? I like Scott Arfield, I'm one of his biggest fans, and I thought he'd done okay tonight, but when he's sitting in the midway apart for full game, he's not going to bomb forward because he's not getting legs to get back, so he's just going to sit and keep things simple and try and just follow runners and stop them playing, so he's never going to do what he can do best, so he's better coming on as a sub. So why not play Lowry, Charlie McCann? You're never going to find out how these guys are unless they get a chance, so either he thinks they're good but not good enough, or he just doesn't, maybe he wants to go with the guys that he trusts more. I don't know. It's only Michael Beale can answer that. But if that's the case with Lowry, he's not going to get minutes, then you're going to have to send the boy out on loan, because he's a talented player. He needs to play football. They all do, these young lads. I'm not going to get any better sitting on a bench. He's either as well playing with the B team, but I like the B teams below him, so he has to either go out to a Championship club or a Bottom League Premiership club, or even some in England, just to get game time, just to prove the fact that he's good enough for us, because I think he is. But until he gets on the park and shows it in a good run of games, nobody's ever going to know. So he kind keep saying, I believe in these guys, and they're sitting for 90 minutes, and they'll bring on James Sands, who we all know is probably going to be heading back to the USA at the end of the season. Do you know what I mean? Or Scott Arfield plays 90 minutes, so who knows, who usually only gets 20 to 30 minutes because he's an impact player.
Yeah.
So some of these guys, so they're really on the bench then, Brian, because of injuries. Not the bench because he's going to bring them on unless, you know, probably put Charlie McCann on Sunday because it was necessary because the players we had. So I don't know. I just feel either give the guys a chance or you put them out on loan, because they need to play football. Sitting on a bench and just training is not good enough. Not good enough for development.
I mean, Craig kind of brings up a point. You know, this discussion is sounding like GVB's still in charge of these players, same ones making the same mistakes. Beale said he will not have favourites when he is going to when's he going to start showing it. I mean, but you can't expect that. Well, I don't know how many times I've said this in the past, but the definition of sanity is doing the same thing over and over and getting the same results. And unless you freshen it up or at least try different selections, what changes can you expect, really?
For me, the way I see it, and this is just my opinion, and I'll probably get pals in the comments, while it's still 9 points, Beale is probably more likely to still stick with most of the players that he trusts. And the longer this unbeaten run goes, the more likely that is to happen. So if we lose a game, if we lose a game last week and we're 12 points behind, you probably will see a lot more of the youth players playing, because then it is more or less done. The longer it sort of stays sort of doable, the more likely Beale is going to stick with the players that he trusts. I mean, he obviously sees the players in training. There's obviously a reason why that he's still playing the players that he's playing. Maybe it's a message to the board and to Ross Wilson to go, this is what I'm working with. Maybe it's a bit of mind games. So obviously he's come out and said, I need new players. Maybe this is a bit of a sort of impasse already where he's saying, well, I'm sort of stuck with Kamara, Arfield, Jack Lundstrom until you give me someone else. If he starts playing Lowry or McCann and they do really well, the board can go, well, actually, you've got Lowry, you've got McCann who can come in and do a job. What do you need more players for? Just my opinion.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, that's what it's all about, opinions. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong. Stuart, thanks to Stephen Gillespie for the £5 super chat. Can Tillman replace Morelos up front? Lowry should have played, especially after we went to 3. Do you see Tillman as a striker?
I see him as a number 10 rather than a striker, I have to say. There was one bit in that second half where it looked like the old Morelos, where he was just barging his way through. The keeper made a right good save. I don't see Tillman doing that. I actually thought Tillman looked very good when he came on. You know, some of his touches and stuff like that was really good. He should have been played in for one of the chances. So I know he's been kind of touted as that, but I'm not seeing a kind of an out and out striker in him. And I think he would maybe be a bit wasted, the same way as he was a bit wasted when Gio decided to play him out wide when he first came in. So no, he's a number 10 for me. As for Lowry, yeah, you know, again, I was maybe a bit surprised we didn't see more in terms of the way of subs at 3-1, just to keep the momentum going. The Sands one's a bit defensive again. You know, you're just replacing like for like, but you know, he's obviously just wanting to see the game out. The trouble is, we don't. So yeah, I can understand people's logic of saying, no, why not fling on Lowry and see what you can do, because the game had really opened up by that point. There was huge spaces all over the park, which I think Lowry could have exploited.
Yeah, absolutely. Carol, there's a question from Gaz. The rumours saying that we're not bringing anyone in until the summer because the board wants to build up a pot for the summer. Now, this is what happens when there's no signings and we're 2/3 of the way through January and there's only rumours at best just now. So, you know, if the board wanted to just, you know, put any of these rumours or stories to bed, they could have had somebody in the door by now, but there's still nobody in.
No, I'd just like to say, first of all, Brian, everybody in the comments, I'm not freezing. I sit with this today because it's comfortable and I like to wear hats. So I've got hundreds of hats which I wear. So if you want to send money out of my heating bill, that's totally fine.
We got to go fund for you.
No, listen, I wouldn't trust the Rangers board as far as I could throw them. And the reason being because most of the things they tell us either too late or I've just seen my other things they've done, they take the total Michael. So you just don't know. They could surprise us, but also they could just suddenly they could let us down just as easily as well. Do you know what I mean? So until somebody's across the line and signed a contract, you don't believe anything that's coming out of Ibrox. You just don't. They don't really tell you much in it, but you don't believe anything. So I think we will sign somebody, but somebody might not be good enough. We need to sign at least half a dozen, maybe more for this team. But we know it's not going to be a big, massive overall because the board aren't going to spend all that money to bring guys in. I just know they won't. So that's up to Michael Beale to force her hand. And maybe what Craig's saying is to maybe he's trying to force her hand. But listen, I only think he'd have took this job if he thought people were coming in. But as before, what somebody tells you when you get an interview and then when you take the job can be totally different. So it's a wait and see with Rangers. We're all waking up every morning hoping to see a signing on the day and then nothing happens. So we're all going to get frustrated. But you probably are. Some of the players are getting frustrated as well because I think they like competition, but they like new players coming in. And we need to see some players leaving as well, to be honest with you. So just not just ins, we need to see some outs as well. But with this board, Brian, who knows? It's a toss of a coin what this board does.
Kev, just on that point though, I mean, if we don't sign MD, then I think it leaves Beale in a really awkward position given what he's been saying throughout this window and even just recently. You know, I think that leaves him out there hanging, and you know, he'll puts him in an awkward position because questions would then be asked as to, well, you said this and now it didn't happen, so what's the scenario? And I think the 2 cups are really important to him. You know, I think if he needs to get at least one in the bag to just give him that bit of breathing space going into next season.
I think between now and the end of the season, I said before it was a free hit and some people didn't like that, but what I meant was he's not going to have a lot of criticism between now and the end of the season, especially if he sees signings coming through the door and then building for next season. But if there's no signings and we don't end up with season 1-0, pressure will be on him straight away because every day there's pressure at Rangers. You draw there's pressure on you. So I think the club need to move forward, but the club need to start doing things, because you can't stand still in football because the other team don't. And if they keep signing players, I don't know where they get the money from, but if they keep signing players, they're just getting further and further away from us. And second in Scotland's not good enough. Doesn't matter what they say, second's not good enough. We have to start challenging, and we can't keep in every season 9, 10 other points behind him, and it's only halfway through. We need to start challenging. But as he's on the board and Ross Wilson said at the AGM he doesn't sign the players, which fair enough. Say you believe him. Who does then? That's what I like to know. Who does? Because that's his job. That's his remit. So who actually signs the players? We don't know. He just said he doesn't sign the players. So if he doesn't sign them, who actually does? Because nobody's telling us anything.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Craig. I mean, we'll move on to the third goal. Obviously, there was obviously, I think Kamara had a chance to take a shot, but he decided to post it wide, and Barisic sort of clipped it in for Morelos, who actually, it was actually a really good header. He produced a lot of the power himself, and it was like the old Morelos, wasn't it? That sort of goal.
Yeah, I saw someone mention in the comments about Kamara, and I'd not actually clicked. I'm just remembering the goal back that there was a moment where you're sort of shouting at him to just put his foot through it. Obviously, he did what Glenn Kamara tends to do and sort of played the ball out wide. And I thought, at first, we've lost the chance because Barisic sort of dinked it up, and I thought, it's not the ball. It should have been sort of smashed across the box. But Alfie did. Alfie put a lot of power into the header. He's not been a natural header of the ball. Obviously, he'll get the odd header here and there, but for the chances he has heading wise, he should do a lot better. And he's actually put it in the perfect spot, right in the bottom corner. Anywhere else he puts that, a defender blocks it or the keeper probably saves it. So he has put it right in the perfect spot. And at that point, we're all thinking, right, that's game done. It's 3-1, and they're down to 10 men, and we can sit easy for the last sort of 20 minutes. But it wasn't to be.
It certainly wasn't, and thanks CRS for the £10 donation, Matt, very much appreciated. And then, of course, inexplicably again, Stuart, we concede a second goal, and to be honest, it was some finish from the boy, the big centre half. I didn't really expect it, and it was in the net before the goalie could even do anything about it, wasn't it?
I mean, it was some finish. Not that I'm saying this causes a goal, but it's just one of my bugbears. And actually, the initial free kick, you can see Beale complaining to the fourth official because actually they've taken the ball about 10-15 yards into the Rangers half. It's actually at the halfway line, but that allowed them to get closer to our box. Now, yeah, we need to be doing better. We need to try and win that first header, and then how often do we see Barisic wrong side? I don't think that's going to change now. That's just the way he is. But yeah, take no credit away from the boy. It's he's probably not hit a ball as sweet as that for in his life, and he probably won't again. And I've seen a few things talking about McLaughlin. I don't think McLaughlin's got a chance. That is by him before he could possibly react. But typical Rangers, we're on easy street. We probably should have actually had a fourth, to absolutely kill it. But then, it makes it a nervy last 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, and Scott, does this give us any sort of hope about Kent staying? He said he was going to sit down with the manager and discuss his future, but last year Goldson, Gio said that the new contracts were all Ross Wilson. So here we go again. Somebody saying that they deal with the contracts, but then somebody else saying no, it's not me. So, at least there's a bit of positivity there. Him saying that he's going to sit down with the manager to discuss his future.
I've said on Ryan Kent. I think Ryan Kent will sign, but I think he'll see his contract out and then he'll sign. I don't think he'll sign before the season's finished. Just I don't know if there's any Liverpool gate. I don't know if he becomes a free agent and he re-signs that way. Maybe he gets a bigger sign-on fee. I don't know, but I think he'll do what Connor done. I think he'll let it run out. He'll become a free agent and then he'll sign us again. I think that will happen. I hope that happens, but I think it will happen. But listen, I don't know what's on at Rangers, Brian. Your guess is as good as mine. I sat here for half an hour and tell my opinion. Sometimes, most of the time, it's nonsense. But I don't know what about Rangers. I know somebody said in the comments here, where's the positivity? I'm usually quite positive as well. Not when I'm talking about the Rangers board, but I'm usually quite positive about the players, especially on your chat, because usually always leave me another crap back saying I'm too positive. So, no, I mean, it's a wait and see just now. But like I said, I mean, I trust Michael Beale. I trust him to do a job. And I know I said I think it's remarkable what he's done. And I was questioned about that. I just think because the players has got at his disposal and the way we started the season, the way we continued, and the way we're still conceding goals. But these guys winning games of football, which we were only doing earlier on. We were drawing or getting beaten. So he's sorted something out in them. Granted, we do need other guys in, but he's sorted something there. And you can see at times we do play decent stuff. Just probably not long enough in games, but he sorted out the mentality side. He sorted out other things. Listen, before he came as it was a kind of shit show, wasn't it? We weren't doing well at all. So I think what he's done since he's stepped through the door, I didn't expect him to do this well, to be honest with you, especially these group of players. So I think what he's done is remarkable at this moment in time.
I mean, that's a start, Craig, isn't it? 19 from 21 points. And to be honest, we were minutes away from 21 out of 21. So when you look at it like that, as Scott's just said, how he's managed to turn it around to what we were under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst to what we are now, we're a lot harder to beat. We're fine. We're obviously there's times we've won ugly, but considering, as I said, where we were, it's quite remarkable that we've went on that sort of run, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of he's done that well despite the conditions that he's working with instead of because of the conditions he's working with. Yeah, I mean, it would have been 2 or 3 minutes away from a perfect 21 out of 21 and into a cup final. I don't think he would have expected to have that good a start. I think he would have probably come in thinking, right, if I can get 4 or 5 wins out the first 8 games, and I'll be in a good position. So the team for me are only going to improve once they got more time with me. Obviously, this was the last midweek game for a little while, so now he's going to have a week of training with them rather than broken up by games. But ultimately, he needs his own players in. He needs players that he's going to be working with for the long run. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, Michael Beale's the man who will fall on the sword if things don't go well. So he has to look after himself. He has to look after the club. And for me, he's working with what he's got at the moment until he can really put his stamp on the team.
Yeah, that's exactly true, Stuart, isn't it? You know, at the end of the day, a manager's only as good as the players that he signs rather than the ones that he's inherited. This isn't going to be a quick fix. This is going to be next summer, probably the January after, unless something dramatic happens, you know, overnight. You know, it's going to be a good couple of windows before this is all sorted, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the next 2 to 3 windows are really important for Rangers to kind of get the players that Beale wants playing in the style that he wants. I think we're seeing that in flashes, but I don't think we're seeing it totally.
Yeah.
But I think Scott said it earlier, you know, if we're maybe being a bit negative, but yeah, let's talk about the positives. You know, there are games that have taken place under Beale that under Gio we would not have won. Yeah. And, you know, probably Aberdeen twice, Hibs, Celtic, there you go, you know, and probably on that pitch tonight, you could have just the way Kelly started. So he's clearly doing something. They're clearly buying in to what he's doing. It's just, it needs a revamp, but it's been needing a revamp for a long, long time. You know, can't believe that we're still going in, you know, with Kamara and Arfield and Jack and Lundstrom in our midfield. You know, it's been that midfield's been wanting freshened up since probably Gerrard's second season in truth. So yeah, the next 2 to 3 windows are huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Come to you, Scott, about this one. Do you think that the board is making the decisions and not Beale? Now,
I'm going to end up getting sin die five.
The conspiracy theorist that is.
Do you want to ask somebody else? That's great. Keep 6 miles away.
I mean,
board do make the decision
We're always gonna make
ultimately.
decisions. It's a business, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
a business. We're always going to make the main decisions, but the board doesn't matter who the manager is. The board's going to have to back the manager. If you want to move forward as a club and as a business, you have to back your manager. You have to back the guy in charge. If you don't back the guy in charge, then what's the point in being there? So the board are going to have to back what he wants to do. If it doesn't work out, fine. Like Craig said earlier, it's Bill's head in the chopping block, but they're going to have to back him. They can't sit and expect him to work with stuff with tools he's not got. Do you know what I mean? So he's going to have to say, right, here's what I want, here's what I need, and here's what and then he'll come back to you and say, well, here's what we can get you. It's not a case of just there you go, there's some players there, go and do your magic, because that doesn't always work. So the board are going to have to back the manager, and they're going to have to back him well, because like you said, Brian, and Stuart have said as well, they've not backed him for the last few seasons. So they've not invested a lot. I know we brought in 5 players last January, right? But 3's away, 1's in a treatment room, and 1 hardly gets a game. So the 5 guys didn't really make an impact, did they? So we're going to have to invest properly. I mean, they're talking about 2 keepers, a couple of fullbacks, a midfielder, a striker, plus more. Do you know what I mean? So we're going to have to invest quite a lot of money.
I mean, this sort of nails it on the head from Stephen, Craig. 10 players out of contract in the summer. The top players needed right now. Will we get them? This is the big question. He keeps saying that he wants to sign guys that are going to make a difference in the first 11 and not just squad fillers. Well, that's all. That's all very well saying that. It's getting these guys in the door, though, isn't it?
Yeah, the squad's needed a revamp since at least the 55 season. There's a number of players there that should have been recycled and said, thank you for all your help and thank you for all your efforts, but goodbye. And if it wasn't for 55, it would have absolutely been last season. And here we are still with McGregor, Arfield. I mean, Davis is a difficult one because obviously he when he's played this season before his injury, he's done really well, which you'd expect nothing less from Steve Davis. But we can't be going into another season. I mean, Ryan Jack would go into that pot for me for next season. That it might be time. As good as Ryan Jack is, we need better quality that's more consistent. For me, there's key, like I said, there's key areas that need addressing. Caroline's right that we seem to be in a situation where Ross Wilson gets out of bed on the 1st of January and goes, oh, I need to start looking at players. I need to think of who we need.
Was it the 1st of January?
Yeah, it's the 1st of January. Whereas other teams, particularly the other side of the city, seem to have their it's just constant. They have their people lined up in sort of November, December, ready for the 1st of January. And here we are 18 days in with no signings and just rumours at the minute and talk there's going to be one announced tomorrow. But if I sat here tomorrow night on another pod, it wouldn't surprise me if no one was in the door. It's just always seems to be the way, and things have got to change. I think when Beale came in, I got the impression that he wants to have a lot more say in it, but ultimately the board and Ross Wilson have to sign off on everything that he wants, so he can sit in a press conference and sit media and say he wants to sign X, Y, and Z, but ultimately it's down to the club to sort it.
Absolutely. Thank you to Andrew for the super chat. So, Stuart, they've signed 4, we've signed none. Impossible to compete without, I would assume, matching it. No matter our manager, money wins 95% of the time now. As Craig's just said, they announced their signings November, December. They were way ahead of the game as far as getting their players in. Way before, as soon as the clocks chimed the 1st of January, they were in the door. So, as Craig says, you would hate to think that Ross Wilson's woke up on the 1st of January and went, oh, it's the 1st of January, the window's open, like, what are we going to do? But it's so difficult to not see that when we're sitting here on the 18th of January and there's not even anybody close to coming through the door.
Yeah, I mean, they've obviously had longer. They've had their manager in place to start planning for the January window. But I don't believe for 1 second that in Beale's first week, he's already identifying. He knew this squad. The majority of it is players that he's worked with, and he was watching us a lot before he became manager. So he knew. So do I believe that Ross Wilson wakes up on the 1st of January and starts going? No, I don't. But we seem to be always finding ourselves in this position in January where things drag on. It happened last season, and yeah, we all get very excited about Ramsey and Diallo and stuff like that. But it was again right at the end of the window. Beale was very clear at the start of January that he wanted players to come in and be starters. And I think that's because he knows where this team is and where the squad is. And with important games, with a cup semi-final, etc., and games against Celtic coming up. So we don't help ourselves by allowing these things to drag on. And I don't know why it's so complicated. I've never done it. I've never completed a transfer. But why is it that Rangers always seem to be, we identify a player, which the negotiations seem to go on 2 to 3 weeks? Cantwell, give us a decision. Are you in or not? Or if Norwich are asking for too much money, okay, we need to move on because actually we need to get somebody in the door. So I just don't think we help ourselves in the January window, and I don't really know why. Like I say, it seems to drag on for as long as it does.
No, and it's coming up to 11 o'clock, so obviously people working tomorrow, I'll try not to keep you going much longer, but in a positive, Scott, 7 wins and a draw for Beale, cup final. It's, as you said earlier, it's pretty much as good as you could have hoped for, isn't it?
It is with the players we've got. I mean, like Stella, we need reinforcements, we need replacements, and we want people in. But January is a very hard month to buy players.
Difficult month, it really is, isn't it?
Some teams like Celtic have obviously been working well ahead. Every big club should be working. Every big club should have a note of players they're looking to get when the window, as soon as the window opens. But it's some players take their time in signing because they're, especially if they're out of contract at the end of the season, they'll take their time to see what offers they're getting and they'll leave it till the end. Because if you notice, especially in any transfer window, it builds up. The last day is always very exciting because that's when players know they won't get any more time, and that's when clubs won't get any more time. So you see deals going through in about 30 seconds, whereas it could take you 30 days prior to that to get something done. So there will be stuff going on, but it's very hard to get players coming in hitting the first team straight away, because sometimes if you want to buy a ready-made first team player, you're paying a lot of money for them, depending where you shop right enough, but you're paying a lot of money. So I wouldn't mind players being signed on pre-contracts for the summer, because I think the summer's more important for bringing players in, because I think you've got a longer window and you've got a bit more time to bed them in. January's can be a hit and miss for some players, as we've seen. So, but we do need somebody in, Brian. So it'll be interesting. Like I said earlier, you just hope when you wake up some morning we've signed somebody, because it'll be a change for waking up and nothing's happened apart from another pod.
Yeah, and Craig, that's pretty much. It's always around, I think, the 10 o'clock sort of mark, or sort of dinner time, 5 o'clock is that a signing sort of traditionally announced at Rangers. It doesn't seem to be any other sort of times. So, yeah, it's almost. I almost feel like the guy at Groundhog Day. It's Groundhog Day again. And it's like every day just seems to be on repeat in January, isn't it?
Yeah, I only have a couple of accounts on my Twitter that have notifications. So when my phone does go off, I'm like, oh, and it's just that sort of disappointment where you sort of get all amped when you see Rangers are tweeting. It's something else. Please, I wouldn't even care at the minute who it is. Just get somebody with a scarf over the head. Just have a little bit of optimism and freshness. I agree with Kay. It's like getting somebody in the summer is great, because then obviously they got a bit more. We know that's more important, but also at the same time, if you can get them in January, It just gives them that bit of time to get embedded with the team. For example, going to the other stadium, you don't really want that to be in the autumn. If you can get them in and get them used to that now, it's a positive going forward. But just sign someone.
And we'll finish up with you, Stuart. We've got St Johnstone on Saturday in the Cup, a break away from the league. I think we're going to have three-quarters of the stadium by sounds of things, because I think St Johnstone fans have just decided to part this and just not go. So, it's virtually a home game, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we should use that to our advantage, of course, but I dare say that we could probably just lift and shift the preview pod from tonight and use it for St Johnstone in terms of, we are the better team. We should be able to beat them, but it's all about attitude right from the first whistle, getting the first goal. If you can get the second, then, the game should be there for you. So I think we'll beat St Johnstone. They'll make it awkward, as they do when we've already suffered a loss there. There should be a bit of a revenge there for Rangers as well. And the fact that we've got three stands, it's like a home game. So, use that to your advantage.
Absolutely.
I'm just going to say, you say St Johnstone fans are boycotting. They not boycott every game.
Well, there is that, but they've seriously boycotted this one. I think they've basically just decided not to turn up at all. So
the seven of them's not going.
But no, thanks to everybody for watching tonight. That was reaction to Kilmarnock 2, Rangers 3. We will have a morning pod at 11 o'clock to chew over things. Pretty sure William's got a nice topic up his sleeve for us to discuss and chew over. That we'll have Rabble Extra tomorrow night. I believe it's 8 o'clock. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it's 8. But thank you for everybody to tuning in. We'll either catch you tomorrow morning or we'll catch you tomorrow evening. So thank you very much. Cheers.